Oh, hi, Mark. Uh, all right, so I have the first one done. Notice I'm not filming vertically anymore, so that's an improvement, hopefully. Uh, so I'm gonna try to make this a little more comfortable for myself. And so I'm gonna be pulling these movies off the shelf here and kind of holding them in my hand while I talk about them. So, anyway, on with the video. Bubba Hotep is the first movie up. This is a fun one. Bruce Campbell plays an aging Elvis at a retirement home in Texas. And then this guy, the guy in the wheelchair back there, plays a guy who believes he is John F. Kennedy. But he has been body swapped. So that's pretty much what you're gonna get with this movie. It's pretty ridiculous. It's kind of weird. It also is sort of kind of like, I don't know if I want to call it sad, but it's it's weirdly emotional. It's really fun though. Really fun time. That's a big bitch cockroach. Yeah, good stuff. Burning Kiss. I have never seen this one. The Burning Moon. You know, I just bought this one recently. It's not one of my favorites. You know, it's just kind of really... It's one of those films that's just really kind of slow and not... Well, I don't want to say slow. Maybe it's just because it's really bad. This is not a good film. The gore in it's pretty good. Honestly, it wasn't as gory as I thought it was going to be. Like that title, or not the title, but that cover art just looks like it's going to be gory as all living hell. But I don't know. If I'm being entirely honest, this one kind of let me down. The gore that it did have in it was pretty good, though. Cheap, but pretty good. Cabin Fever. So this is actually my favorite Eli Roth film. And I do like Eli Roth. I know he's kind of a figure that it's either, you know, you love him or hate him. Kind of like Rob Zombie. But, yeah, I really love it. Pretty funny. You know, I love this movie. I think that the ending, in my opinion, is hysterical in this one. Because, earlier in the film, this guy says something. This guy that runs this old country store, he says something, and you know, everyone just gets super quiet because it gets super awkward and they think he means something else. And then in the end of the film, you see this thing happening and you think one thing is going to happen and then a different thing happens that technically is still, it still fits what he said earlier. Just kind of a version of expectations. Is really funny. Whole film is really fun though. The Cabin in the Woods. I'm not as big on this one as some people are. I do think it's pretty funny. It's a pretty fun film, but I don't know. I'm not like moist over it. Candyman. Another film that I'm just not as big on as most people. I bought this film a couple of years back, and I don't know. It was probably because I was expecting more of a slasher film, but I don't know. I don't like the psychological aspect of this film as much. Again, I'm probably biased because it was probably just because I was expecting this to be more of a slasher film. So, you know, I don't really think I can take that against the film, but it's a good film. Tony Todd is really good as Candyman. His voice is really haunting. And I give him mad props for letting a bunch of bees crawl all over him, including in his mouth. Good film. Cannibal Holocaust. This is disturbing. This one is freaking disturbing. You know, I watched this film once with the animal killings. It was awful. I just don't understand. Oh, I should probably censor that. Or just skip over it entirely. I just don't understand the whole animal killing thing. Like, I think you can get your shocks somewhere else. I think this would still be a really shocking movie had they not killed a bunch of animals in it. I think the animal killings were completely unnecessary in this one. And so, frankly, I don't know. I can only watch this movie without the animal killings because it's just so... It's so mean-spirited to do that. I don't know. It's not my thing with the animal killings. But luckily, I do have the Grindhouse one. And the Grindhouse one does actually have an edited version of the film that I can watch. It's still very disturbing, but it's watchable for sure. Cape Fear. I got this one recently. Have not seen it yet. So... Carnage Park. This was a pretty good one. It's not like right there it says a brutal masterpiece of tension and terror. It's not a masterpiece by any stretch of the imagination. This lady here isn't the greatest actress in the world, but she's not bad either. Now where it says tension up there, I agree. This is a very tense movie. It's really tense, and it's really good. I got it at the dollar store. Can you believe that? This at the dollar store. It's got a reversible cover art too, which is pretty sweet. And I'm actually going to take Bubba Hotep and set it up where I put 3 from Hell last night. That way I can maneuver in here a little better without hurting my fingers so much. Carnivore. I have not seen this one. Have not seen it. Like I said, a lot of these movies I buy because they're cheap. And don't mind my messy, unmade bed. Cat in the Brain. This film, I've heard, gets hated on a little bit. I personally don't get it. Like, I get, it's like... Fulci is using the clips from his other films, and some might call that lazy, but I don't know. It's kind of the point. It's kind of the point of this film because his films are driving him insane. So, I don't know. It doesn't bother me. I'm actually a pretty big fan of this film, and that cover art is just amazing. Cat in the Brain. Good stuff. Cell Count, have not seen it. It was one of those cheap ones, chain letter, haven't seen it. The Changeling. Oh, would you look at that? I dropped another one. I suck at keeping a hold of my movies. But The Changeling. This is a really good atmospheric ghost story. This is one that really just feels like October. It's really good to watch during like the Halloween-y sort of season. Yeah, really good stuff. The Changeling. Good stuff. The Chernobyl Diaries, it's an okay movie. It's an alright movie. It's kind of weird. It seems like whenever anybody thinks of this film, they think of it as a found footage movie, and it's actually not a found footage movie. Matter of fact, when I bought it, I was like, oh, it's a found footage movie. But it's not. It's a decent movie. It's not great. But it's okay. Children of the Corn collection. I like the Children of the Corn movies. Well, some of them anyway. I've only seen the first 3. I will say I hate 3. 3 I cannot stand because this kid right here. That's the kid from 3, and I can't stand that kid. He is the douchiest little douche-faced douchebag kid I have ever seen in my entire life. He makes me want to cut my eyeballs out of my head and dunk them in bleach. I cannot stand this kid's performance. It really... It's because I hate smug children. Like, when a child is smug, and he's evil, and he's just... You know, he's winning, it really hurts. I mean, that goes for people in general, but it's even suckier when it's children. It makes me want to punch the child even more. I swear I'm not violent. The Child's Play remake. This one I actually rather enjoyed. I like Aubrey Plaza over the woman who plays the mom in the original. But that's probably just because I like Aubrey Plaza a lot. God, she's hot. She's hot to trot. She's got those fire eyes, man. All right, if I could somehow stop talking about Aubrey Plaza, Jesus. Yeah, Mark Hamill voices Chucky in this one. He's not, he's not Charles Lee Ray. He's just a little Chucky doll that went haywire, but... it's a decent time if you can detach it from the original franchise, which I have no problem doing. The Church. This movie, on the other hand, is garbage. I don't understand this movie, like, at all. It's like God is the bad guy? Is that what I'm to gather from this film? Like, God is the bad guy and he's, like, killing sinners? I really don't know, because it makes it seem like it's this evil entity, but you're also kind of led to believe that it's God. I don't know. This movie is terrible. It really is. The only redeeming quality here is Bill Moseley, who's just likable in whatever he's in, which is why that's a redeeming quality. But other than that, this film is just terrible, irredeemable garbage. Citadel, Citadel was okay. It had an interesting little premise. It's a really kind of dark, depressing film. If I'm being entirely honest, you kind of could have Oh, sorry about that, guys. My dog was scratching on the door to get in. Anyway, I think it kind of could have used a little more story to it. Like, I don't know, it just kind of follows this one character, if I'm remembering it right, and, this society seems like it's kind of almost post-apocalyptic. It's a strange one, because it doesn't really bother to tell you the state of the world, but everything looks like it's just garbage. But, Citadel was decent. It was kind of creepy, actually. Speaking of kind of creepy, the Clove Hitch Killer. If I'm being entirely honest, I was hoping this movie would be a little more vicious. But the truth is it's probably about realistic. This is probably a pretty realistic look at a serial killer. But, yeah. Clove Hitch Killer, it's alright. I heard a lot of good stuff about it when it was coming out. I don't think it's that great, but it's good. Cloverfield. It's a found footage movie. I mean, it's I want to say standard found footage movie, but maybe I just mean standard in quality, because this isn't actually your standard found footage movie. This is not... It's basically if Godzilla was a found footage movie, which, if I'm being entirely honest, is kind of dope. There are actually a couple freaky scenes in this movie with the parasites in that dark subway tunnel. That was pretty freaky. It's pretty good. I haven't seen it in a while, though. But Clowntown, I have not seen it. Cold Skin, have not seen it. The Collector. Now, this is a pretty good film. This one is pretty brutal. It's also pretty interesting, the killer in this film. He's just kind of, I don't know, he's animal-like. He has these weird eyes that kind of glow like a deer's eyes in headlights, or, you know, something like that. And he's got all these traps that he places around the house. Also, the premise of this movie is really kind of cool with, you know, this guy that needs to break into this house because he needs to get some money to some loan sharks. And basically, this guy right here has some other plans. And he beat him to the chase, you know, he's already there. So it's an interesting film, one that I definitely recommend if you haven't seen it. Color Out of Space, I also own the 4K to this, that'll pop up in my Blu-ray collection overview. Color Out of Space, this has become one of my favorite horror films of all time. This movie's beautiful. I absolutely love neon colors in my movies, though. Like, whenever there's, you know, something like this, like just striking visuals, I'm bound to just really love the film, and this film is no different. I really like Color Out of Space. The Conjuring. This one's pretty dang good. You know, it's kind of typical ghost story shit, you know, but it's scary. It is scary, and it's very well done. It is very cliche, but that being said, just because it's cliche does not make it bad. You know, it's really cool. And actually, this is one of my go-to haunted house movies. This one and the Amityville Horror are like my two go-to haunted house movies. So, yeah, good stuff. The Conjuring 2, I didn't like as much as The Conjuring 1, quite as much, but I will say that Valak is creepy as shit. That scene with the painting always gets me. That's good stuff. Yeah. Conjuring 2. Not as good as The Conjuring, but it is very good. Crawl. Now, if you ask Dakota, my buddy Dakota, who shows up in a couple of the videos, you'll see that I was hard for this movie when it was coming out. Like, when the trailers were being released, and, oh, the director came out, you know, it's Alexander Aja. I was hard up for this movie. Like, I was convinced that this was going to be the next great horror film. I wasn't exactly wrong. This is actually a really good horror film. It wasn't quite... My expectations were too high for this one, if I'm being entirely honest. They just were. I saw the trailer and I was like, my god, that looks amazing. But it was still really good, and honestly, I think it would have blown me out of the water had I not watched the trailer. So, you know, take that how you will. But I really like Crawl. Crawl's a good one. Creature. This fits my other buddy and I's theme of incest. No, let me explain. For whatever reason, when we get together, we end up watching films that have incest in them. I don't know why. It's not even a purposeful thing. It just kind of happens. But it's a pretty cool one. Yeah, the creature in Creature is pretty cool looking. I remember it being pretty gory. There's not a ton I can say about this movie because I don't remember it real well. It's been a while since I watched it. Creepshow. Creepshow's really good. I hadn't actually seen this movie up until pretty recently. Good anthology stuff. The one with the roaches, the segment with the roaches gets under my skin. That is disgusting. That is one of the most disgusting segments I've ever seen. The one with Leslie Nielsen's really fun. Leslie Nielsen and Ted Danson. It's kind of fun to... That is Ted Danson, right? I'm not screwing up his name. I don't know. I don't think I'm screwing up his name. Guy from Cheers. Whatever. But, yeah, no, fun stuff. Very fun stuff. And then, the one that I actually prefer is Creepshow 2. Yeah, in my opinion, Creepshow 2 is actually more fun. I loved the raft segment in this one. The first one, like the drugstore Indian one, that's pretty fun as well. Yeah, I don't dislike any of the segments in this one, or in the original Creepshow, but of course, some segments are better than others, as in all these anthology movies, and myself, I actually prefer the raft. The raft is probably my favorite sequence in both of the Creepshow films, so pretty fun stuff. The Crescent, haven't seen it, and I also haven't seen the 2 bonus films there. Again, it was a dollar store movie, so lots of these are. Critters Attack, I actually found this at a thrift store when it was still relatively new, for $2. So I had to pick it up, even though I actually don't own any of the other Critters films, and I haven't seen them, which is why I haven't seen this one. I would have watched this film by now already, had I seen the other Critters films. I just haven't seen the other Critters films, which I gotta get on that. But Croczilla, I haven't seen it. I think I watched a little bit of it, like way back in the day, but I don't remember. And then another copy of Croczilla. I bought this after that one, which I bought it for the extra films. It has Piranha, the film that was the 1972 film that was on that Cult Classics DVD that I had at last shelf towards the beginning. And I forgot to talk about, hold on. I forgot to talk about Piranha. That is one of my least favorite films of all time. It's so misleading. You know, they put it on these horror double feature sort of things. Not double feature, but you know what I mean, like multi-packs. And you're expecting this horror film, and it's realistically kind of a cat and mouse thriller, about this guy. I think his name's Karib or something like that. And I think piranhas actually show up like once in the film. It's disappointing. It really kind of is disappointing. And it's boring as all living shit. I don't like that film. It bored the hell out of me. But of course it has Attack of the Giant Leeches, which was, that was a pretty fun film. I saw that a while ago, and it was, you know, it was pretty fun. So, you know, win some, you lose some. Cujo. This is a good film. This is a very good film with, Dee Wallace. The acting in this movie is actually really good from Dee Wallace and the kid who plays her son. I'm always forgetting that kid's name, or rather, I didn't know it in the first place. But, you know, Cujo, good stuff. But on a side note, kind of unrelated to Cujo, St. Bernards are my favorite breed of dogs. They are just freaking adorable. This film has not ruined St. Bernards for me. Love it. Cursed, I saw this film a long time ago. I haven't seen it since. Oh, the biggest thing I remember from this movie is the werewolf giving the people the finger. That was pretty amusing. But I remember Jesse Eisenberg being kind of an annoying shit in this movie. But I could be misremembering that. The Curse of La Llorona. This movie was pretty bad. That's all I'm going to say about this. This was pretty bad. Dark Fields. I haven't seen it. Darkness Falls. This was another one that I used to watch all the time back in the day. Again, because, you know, I was allowed to watch PG-13 films. And so, you know, in junior high, I watched a lot of Darkness Falls. I have pretty fond memories of this movie, actually. It used to be on Netflix, and so I'd watch it on Netflix, like, all the time. You know, I'd pop popcorn and watch Darkness Falls. It was a fun time. I don't know. I remember I used to watch this movie just a lot. I used to watch it a lot. Of course, it's very cheesy. It is very cheesy. Actually, funny story about this movie. Well, it's not about this movie. It's about One of my nephews and one of my nieces, their first time watching this movie. I wasn't there. However, the story was told to me, and so I'm telling it to you guys because I thought it was hysterical. My brother let his kids watch Darkness Falls. It was like their first horror movie. Well, actually, not for one of my nephew, not for my nephew. He had seen Jaws, I think. But it was actually pretty hysterical. He said that right in the middle of the movie, when the ghost was popping up, he put a blanket on his head and he ran out into the living room screaming. And he got a pretty good reaction out of him, needless to say. But yeah, Darkness Falls. It's cheesy, but it's fun. Darkness Reigns. I have not seen it. Dark Was the Night. I have not seen it. Sorry, guys. Like I said, dollar store movies. They're very alluring because they're $1, and you know I don't have time to watch all of them at all times. But Dark Water. This film is friggin' creepy. This film got one of the biggest jumps out of me that any film ever has. One of the elevator scenes in this film just terrified me. And, you know, this one actually got under my skin quite a bit. Yeah, Dark Water is just extraordinarily creepy. It's also pretty heartbreaking, pretty tragic stuff. Yeah, Dark Water. I love Dark Water, though. Great flick. The Dario Argento Steelbook. It's got, Do You Like Hitchcock, Phenomena, The Card Player, Tenebrae, and Trauma. I have seen all of these films. Do You Like Hitchcock is the one that I just watched pretty recently for the first time. I like Do You Like Hitchcock? It's a decent film. The Card Player is pretty subpar, definitely. Not Argento's best work. It's also not his worst. I actually don't hate The Card Player. But Trauma is one that I just do not like. I cannot like that movie. Because this guy, he's basically a pedo. It's basically what the guy is. Like, he's basically a freaking pedo. And I can't get behind his character for that reason. Like, yeah, no shit. And it's so annoying to me because that could have been such a good film. But for whatever reason, Argento decided to make this guy who sleeps with this, like, 16-year-old, 15-year-old girl the main character. Like, if he was just going to kill that guy off and dismiss him as a jerk, that would make perfect sense. I cannot watch Trauma. I've seen it once. I'm not a fan. Phenomena and Tenebrae, on the other hand, are incredible films. I do prefer Tenebrae, but Phenomena is really good. Great films. All two of them, not all 5 of them. George A. Romero's Dawn of the Dead. Of course, everyone knows Dawn of the Dead. You know, it's a pretty good movie. I'd even say it's a pretty fun movie. Like, just the mall setting. Ooh, wow. That will not focus. The mall setting, in my opinion, just great. The zombies don't look super great in this film. Honestly, this is not my favorite Romero film at all. I prefer Night of the Living Dead. I even prefer Day of the Dead. But Dawn of the Dead, good stuff. I mean, for sure, you know, like, necessary viewing material. And I have that strange edition of Day of the Dead. You know, the Velcro right here. And then there's like the little booklet inside. But Day of the Dead, good stuff. I just watched this on Halloween again. Great film. It's got some great gore in it. And I love the characters in this movie. You know, Rhodes is such a glorious asshole. He's such a terrible, terrible person. And you just want him dead. And then I can never remember their names, but the Irish guy and the Jamaican guy, love them. Just such, I mean, they're such likable characters. It's probably because I identify with them more than anybody else, like, because, like, if the zombie apocalypse went down, I wouldn't be one of these people going, "Oh man, it's my duty to find a cure." I'd be like, "No, man, it's my duty to ride out the apocalypse and to ride out the apocalypse and just try to have fun with it." But yeah, Day of the Dead, fun stuff. I like Day of the Dead. Now, Day of the Mummy, less fun stuff. This is a first-person film, which is always pretty strange to me. I don't necessarily like first-person films, but whatever. Well, I should say I don't like the idea. It's not like every first-person film that I've ever seen I dislike. I have seen all of 2 of them, by the way. The other one I saw was Hotel Inferno, and I actually like Hotel Inferno. I would have preferred if it wasn't shot in the first-person perspective. But this movie altogether, not great. Matter of fact, it's pretty shit. But, I mean, it's tolerable. It's kind of fun. Dead Alive. This film, on the other hand, is pretty damn amazing. If you've seen Dead Alive, you know exactly why. It's got my favorite priest of all time in this movie, the "I kick ass for the Lord" guy. That line is the greatest. "I kick ass for the Lord. That's my mother you're pissing on." Party's over. This movie has so many great lines and just so many great scenes. Of course, the lawnmower scene is, that's the party's over scene, but the dinner scene is absolutely disgusting, but it's fun and it's funny. The zombies trying to smash and they're like sucking each other's faces off. That was pretty funny. Pretty great movie. Dead Silence. I saw this one for the first time pretty recently, actually. I will say I'm not like huge on it. It's an alright film, but maybe it'll grow on me with more watches. But a film that will not grow on me with more watches is Death House. This film's pretty awful. It's a real shame because look at the cast. That is an amazing cast. I wanted to switch to where I'm facing my shelf because my dresser's in that corner, so it's kind of hard to get in that corner. But yeah, anyway, Death House, such a disappointment, with a cast like this, Kane Hodder, Bill Moseley, Sid Haig, just really good cast, but unfortunately they don't utilize it at all. Kane Hodder is in the movie quite a bit, but I mean, it's not like he's notable. He's notable because he's Kane Hodder. Death Proof, haven't seen it. Just got it recently. Decoys. This was actually a pretty good film. Pretty damned entertaining. I really enjoyed Decoys. This was pretty fun stuff. It kind of reminded me of Species, but like if Natasha Henstridge from Species had some kind of heart, I remember her being pretty heartless in those movies, but anyway. Demon Hunter, I've seen like half of this film. We turned it off because we didn't want to waste time. I was over at a buddy's house, and we were like, alright, so this movie's going to be garbage, and so we just kind of turned it off. I do want to finish it one day because it seemed like it was garbage that I could get into, but yeah. The Descent. This movie, of course, is phenomenal. I mean, I didn't even know that I had any kind of claustrophobia until I saw this film. Like, The Descent is so incredibly claustrophobic. It took the inner claustrophobic out of me, and it put it, on the not inner part of me. This film just destroys me as far as that goes. And, of course, the little creatures in it are very, like, the darkness, or the cave dwellers, I think they're called. But it's also very kind of a tragic film. Very brutal. Yeah. The Descent. Great stuff. Great stuff, The Descent. Very scary film, if you have never seen it. You're looking for something scary. Devil. I'm I like Devil. There are certain silly scenes in it, like where the guy drops his toast and he's like, "Oh, the toast always lands jelly side down when the devil's around." And it's like, all right, calm down. The toast landed jelly side down. So what? All you have to do is go put jelly on another piece of bread. Like, calm yourself. I don't know. That was pretty silly, but overall, I think Devil is a pretty good time. The Devil's Candy. This is a movie that I remember being really, really good. This is another one that I got at the dollar store. Crazy. But it's very, like this movie ended, and I just said to myself, I was like, that was metal. It's awesome. Kind of about this artist that paints these really kind of demonic paintings in his garage, and it's like he's possessed. Really cool stuff. I remember that one being very good. Haven't seen it in a while, but The Devil's Rejects. Of course, The Devil's Rejects. Great film. Possibly my favorite Rob Zombie film. You know, Tutti fucking Fruity. Don't you like clowns, kid? Aren't we funny? I do terrible impressions. But, yeah, I love this film. And so many amusing scenes came out of this film, along with some disturbing ones. But honestly, I watch Rob Zombie films to be amused. Like, I don't watch them to be disturbed. As crazy as that sounds, like, the way he writes is just so very amusing. Like, what's going on is very disturbing, but the writing is always super amusing. And so, I don't know. A lot of his films make me laugh. This is definitely one of them. Dino Croc. Never seen it. However, how would I not buy a movie called Dino Croc? Domestic Disturbance. This was an okay movie. I don't like John Travolta's son in this film. He's kind of a shit. At least he seems like one. It's not like he does anything that's like overtly terrible. He just has one of those faces, you know, like one of those faces that just screams like, I'm the reason my parents got divorced. Like, I don't know, that's probably just a me thing, but I don't like John Travolta's son in this movie, but John Travolta in this movie is pretty good. Vince Vaughn's even pretty good in this one. More serious role for Vince Vaughn. Dominion, prequel to The Exorcist. Never seen it. I'm sure it'll be probably crappy. I'm a pessimist, can you tell? Donkey Punch, again, haven't seen it, but what the hell was I gonna do? Not buy a movie called Donkey Punch? Come on, guys. Come on. Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. This is, you know, it's pretty good. You know, I remember this movie being pretty good. Yeah. Decent. I'm not a big Guillermo del Toro fan, though. I will say that. I know that's like blasphemy to some of you, but Don't Breathe. This movie was really good. From Fede Alvarez, I believe, the guy who did the Evil Dead remake. Yeah, this one was pretty good. Creates a lot of tension just with the premise alone. The guy with the dreads in this movie, though, is awful. He's absolutely awful. Don't mind the voice crack. But, yeah, he's absolutely awful. I hate his character in this film. Actually, I'm not a fan of many of the characters other than, I think her name is Jane Levy. I do like Jane Levy's character, and that's probably due to the fact that she's Jane Levy, and she's really good at acting. But, man, I don't know. The characters kind of get on my nerves, if I'm being honest. Bram Stoker's Dracula. Ooh, it's kind of falling out the bottom there. This isn't really one that I'm a huge fan of. I need to rewatch it, but I don't know. I remember it being a little too kind of long-winded for my taste. Dracula 2000. This is a fairly cheesy, well, a very cheesy, fairly good time. It's okay. It's got the guy that plays Hyde in that 70s show in it. So that's a plus. But it's early 2000s cheese. It's pretty trash, if I'm being honest, but it's kind of fun. Drag Me to Hell. You know, this was actually one of the first horror films that I ever saw as a kid. I remember it scared the shit out of me at the time. Now when I watch it, of course, pretty campy, but I could see why it would have scared me back then. And, you know, I will say that now when I watch it, I'm just not as big of a fan of this film. I don't know. And then The Woods and The Craft. I haven't seen either of those yet. Dressed to Kill. This is going to be the last one up on the shelf. And, you know, Dressed to Kill, you know, that's pretty good. It's pretty creepy. It's actually kind of weird that Michael Caine is in this movie. Like, I know Michael Caine is the guy in The Dark Knight. You know, I know Michael Caine is Alfred, and he just plays this character that's... I won't spoil it, but... Michael Caine. Michael Caine. I don't know. That's always crazy to me. But Dressed to Kill, it's a pretty good movie. It's very giallo-ish. Very giallo-ish in the way that that this film kind of plays out and stuff. But yeah, Dressed to Kill, good stuff. Alright, so that's gonna do it. Give you kind of an overview. Shelf number 2. Yeah, that's gonna do it for this one. I'll catch you guys on the next one.